Hello, folks. We are going to learn the second lesson of Civics Class 10, that is Federalism. Federalism is the second chapter of Class 10 Civics. Let's start with this lesson. Okay, what is federalism? What do you mean by the term federalism? Federalism is a system of government in which power is divided between a central authority and various constituent units of the country. In simple words, federalism means that it is a system of government in which power is divided between the central government and state government and local government, of course. When the power is divided between the central government and various constituent units of the country, that is termed as federalism. Federation. Okay, when one is the government for the whole country, that is usually responsible for a few subjects of common national interest. Government at the level of provinces or states that look after much of the day-to-day administering of the state. Now, federation means that there is a government of the whole country, there is a government responsible for the whole country, that is responsible and accountable for a few subjects or matters of common national interest. And there is another government that is responsible for a particular state, that is state government, that looks after the day-to-day administering of the state. So the central government is responsible for the whole country, it looks after common national interest, and state government is the government of a particular state and it looks after the administering of the state. Next, unitary and federal government. Now there is unitary system of government and federal system of government. Unitary system of government is the type of government where there is one level of government or the subunits are subordinate to the central government. There is only one level of government and the subunits are subordinate. That means it is below the central government. And federal system of government is the type of government where there are two or more levels of government, two or more tiers of government. The central government can pass on orders to the provincial or local government under unitary system of government, whereas in federal system of government, the central government cannot order the state government to do something. See, in unitary system of the government, central government has more powers, whereas in federal system of the government, the central government cannot have more powers. It cannot order the state government to do something. Whereas in unitary system of government, the central government can pass orders to the state government. Okay, the third difference, the central government is supreme and the administrative divisions exercise only powers that the central government delegated to them. Their powers may be broadening and narrowed by the central government. Under unitary system of government, central government is very important. Central government can dominate the state government. It can delegate work to the state government. The powers may be widened and broadened by the central government. In unitary system of government, central government is very important. It can dominate the state government. It can give orders to the state government, and it is supreme. And all administrative divisions exercise only the powers that the central government has delegated to them. That means central government gives work, it delegates work to the state government. The powers can be broadened and narrowed by the central government, whereas in state government has powers of their own. It doesn't have to be given by central government, and it is not at all answerable to central government. State government has powers of their own and it is not answerable to the central government. So the difference between unitary system of government and federal system of government is that under unitary system of government there is only one level of government and the subunits are subordinate to the central government. Suppose if there is a state government, the state government is subordinate, it is below the central government. And central government can give orders to the state government under unitary system of government, and whatever powers are given to the state government, it is given by the central government. The state government do not have their own powers. And under federal system of government, there are two or more levels of government. The central government cannot dominate or give orders to the state government. The state government are having powers of their own. They are not responsible or accountable to the central government. Next, key features of federalism. Let's see the key features of federalism. In federalism, there are two or more levels of government. Different tiers of government govern the same citizens, but each tier has its own jurisdiction. Jurisdiction means legal powers in specific matters of legislation, taxation, and administration. The existence and authority of each tier of government is constitutionally guaranteed. That means the powers of each government is mentioned in the Constitution. The fundamental provisions of the Constitution cannot be unilaterally changed by one level of government. See, whatever powers of state government or central government are mentioned in the Constitution, it cannot be changed by one level of the government. Such changes require the consent of both levels of government. Even if one level of the government wants to change some powers written in the Constitution, it needs permission of both levels of government. Now, only courts have the power to interpret the Constitution and the powers of different levels of government. Only the court has the power to interpret the Constitution and the powers of each level of the government. Sources of revenue for each level of the government are clearly specified. The sources of revenue of each government is specifically mentioned to ensure its financial autonomy or financial independence. The federal system has dual objectives, two objectives. First one is to safeguard and promote the unity of the country. Second is to accommodate regional diversity. So let's focus on the the key features of federalism. The key features of federalism are very important always for board exams. This question has always been asked in board exams, the key features of federal government. So just take it for granted that this particular subtopic is very essential. Learn this particular subtopic for board exams very well. It can be asked for 3 marks or 5 marks. So the key features of federalism is as follows. See, federalism is a type of government where there are two or more levels or tiers of government, and different level of government have their own jurisdiction in matters with regard to legislation, taxation, and administration, and their power and authority is mentioned by the Constitution. The fundamental provision of the Constitution cannot be changed by one level of government. The powers are mentioned in the Constitution. It cannot be changed by any level of the government. If it wants to change, there should be permission or consent by both levels of government. Only the courts have the power to interpret the Constitution and the power of different levels of the government. See, only courts have the right to bring changes to the powers of the different levels of the government. Sources of revenue. Whatever revenue each government has, it is clearly mentioned in the Constitution to ensure financial autonomy. Autonomy means independence. The federal government has two types of objectives. One is to safeguard and promote the unity of the country. Second one is to accommodate regional diversity. Now, roots of federalism. There are two types of roots of federalism. One is coming together federation and the other one is holding together federation. This subtopic is also very important. Questions pertaining to this subtopic can be asked. It is asked quite often. Coming together federation. The first root involves independent states coming together to form a bigger unit. The kind of coming together federations is formed in the US, USA, Switzerland, and Australia. Coming together federation, it is the root of federalism. It is the first root of federalism. It means when all the states of a country come together to form a bigger unit. Such type of federation is found in USA, Switzerland, and Australia. Next, we have the second root of federalism, holding together federation. See, in a large country like India, okay, where the country decides to divide its powers between the constituent states and the national government. See, in India, the power is divided between the central government and state government. We have a local government as well. Okay, the powers are divided between the constituent states, that is state government, and national government, that is central government. So, as I already told you, state government is the government of the state or province, and national government or central government is the government of the whole country. And holding together federation is found in India, Spain, and Belgium. Next. So, what makes India a federal country? Why is India a federal country? All the features of federal system apply to the provisions of Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution is a threefold distribution of legislative powers between union and state government. India is a federal government because the features of federalism is applied to the provision of Indian Constitution. Whatever features of federalism are mentioned, it is mentioned in the Indian Constitution, and it has threefold distribution of legislative powers between the union and the state government. Okay, let's talk about three types of list: union list, state list, and concurrent list. Union list. It includes subjects of national importance such as defense of the country, foreign affairs, banking, communications, and currency. The union government alone can make laws related to subjects mentioned in the list. State list. It includes subjects of state and local importance such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture, and irrigation. The state governments alone cannot make laws related to the subjects mentioned in the list. Next, the third list is concurrent list. It includes subjects of common interest to both union government as well as state government. The list includes for education, forest, trade unions, marriage, adoption, and succession. Both the union as well as state governments can make laws on the subjects mentioned in this list. If there are conflicts with each other, the laws made by the union government will be considered. If there are, okay. So I'm just repeating the whatever I mentioned about each list. The first one is union list. Union list has subjects of national importance. For example, defense of a country, foreign affairs, banking, communication, and currency. The union government has the right to make laws related to subjects. And state list. It includes subjects of state and local importance. Subjects or matters of state and local importance such as police, trade, commerce, agriculture, and irrigation. So, the state government alone can make laws related to the subjects mentioned in the list. Concurrent list. It includes subjects of common interest to both union government as well as state government. The list includes education, forest, trade, unions, marriage, adoption, and succession. Both union government and state government can make laws related to the subjects mentioned below. If there is conflict or dispute between both the governments, then the laws made by union government will be given importance. So, union list are the subjects of national importance. So, union government is responsible for these subjects. State list has subjects of state and local importance, and state government can only make laws related to the subjects. And concurrent list has subjects of both common interest to union government and state government. Both union government and state government can make laws related to the subjects that are already mentioned. How is federalism practiced? The real success of federalism in India is attributed to nature of democratic politics. Let's have a look at some of the major ways in which federalism is practiced in India. Let's move on to the first subtopic. How is federalism practiced in India? Linguistic states. The creation of linguistic states was the first and major test for democratic politics in India. From 1947 to 2017, many old states have vanished and many new states have been created. Areas, boundaries, and names of the states have been changed. Some states have been formed of the people who speak the same language. These states are known as linguistic states. See, after independence, linguistic states were formed. That means states were divided according to languages. The people speaking the same language are grouped into one state. So, and many new states have been formed, like Telangana and Telangana, Uttarakhand, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, like that. So, areas and boundaries and the names of states have also been changed. Next, language policy. The second test for Indian Federation is language policy. So, how is federalism practiced in India? First one is linguistic states. Second is language policy. Hindi was considered as the official language. Apart from Hindi, there are 21 other languages that are scheduled languages by the constitution. States have their own languages and government work takes place in the official language of the concerned state. So Hindi was the official language. Apart from that, there are 21 scheduled languages by the Indian constitution. So states have their own official languages and the government work takes place. So all the government work in a state takes place in the official language of the concerned state. Center-state relations. Okay, so center belongs to the whole country, state belongs to every state. Restructuring the center-state relations is one more way in which federalism has been strengthened in practice. If no single party gets a clear majority in Lok Sabha, the major national parties can alliance with many parties, including regional parties, to form a government at the center. See, if a party doesn't get a clear majority in Lok Sabha, then that party, the national party, can form alliance with regional parties to form government at center. So suppose elections take place, if a national party doesn't get clear majority in Lok Sabha, they can merge or alliance with a regional party or a party of a particular state. Regional party is one party of a state. For example, Shiromani Akali Dal and Trinamool Congress and AIADMK, DMK. Okay, so they can form one government at the center. So this leads to the new culture of power sharing and respect for the autonomy of state government. Okay, now let's talk about decentralization. Decentralization means that the power of central and state governments are taken away. You take the powers of central and state government and give it to the local government. When the powers of state and central government are taken away and given it to the local government, it is called decentralization. Let me make it clear. Central government is the government of the whole country. State government is the government of one particular state like Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Gujarat, and local government is the government of a village, city, or a town. Okay, so when the powers of central and state government are taken away and given it to the local government, this particular term is called decentralization. The basic idea behind decentralization is that there are number of problems and issues that can be settled in local level. See, there are many issues and many issues, disputes, problems that can be better settled at local level. Why to trouble central and state government for that? Some problems can be settled at local level, at town level, village level, or city level. So local people can directly participate in decision making. Local people, like a people living in a particular village, town, or a city, they should be given the opportunity to participate in decision making. That means they should be given a chance to contest election and be a part of the government. Okay, major steps towards decentralization. This is the next subtopic. This is also very essential from both point of view. It is constitutional, mandatory, or compulsory to hold regular elections to local government bodies. See, it is very essential to have elections at local government bodies. Even it is whether it is a village, town, or a city, there should be elections. And seats reserved in elected bodies and executive heads of institutions for, see, there should be seats reserved for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and backward classes even at local level of the government. See, at local level of the government, elections should be held regularly, and there should be seats reserved for SC, ST. I'm sorry if it is a derogatory term. There should be seats reserved for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and backward classes. Seats should be reserved in elected bodies, and executive heads of these institutions should also belong to scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other backward classes. They should be also a part of the governance. At least 1/3 of the position should be reserved for women. Women should also get an opportunity to govern. So they, at least 1/3 of the seats should be reserved for women. We are not asking for more seats. 1/3 at local level should be given to women. State Election Commission has been created. So there is State Election Commission. See, Election Commission is a government body that conducts election. So there is an election commission at state. It has been created to conduct panchayat and municipal elections. Panchayat is the government of village, and municipal is the government of city or a town. So State Election Commission should conduct elections at panchayat and municipal level. They should conduct panchayat and municipal elections. And the state government are required to share some of the powers and revenue with local government bodies. Okay, the nature of sharing varies from state to state. The state government should share powers with the local government as well as the revenue to the local government. So once again, I am going to tell you the major steps towards decentralization. As per the constitution, at local level of the government, there should be regular elections. Seats should be reserved for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and backward classes. At least 1/3 of the seats should be given to women. State Election Commission should be created. Actually, it has been created in the state to conduct panchayat and municipal elections. The state government should give its powers and revenue to local government bodies. Next, Panchayati Raj system. Rural local government is known as Panchayati Raj. Each village or a group of villages in a state has a Gram Panchayat. If you go to a village, you will find out, or a group of village, okay, a village is run by a government called Panchayati Raj. Okay, it is also called as Gram Panchayat. So rural local government is known as Panchayati Raj. Every village or a group of villages in a state, okay, it has Gram Panchayat. There is a council consisting of several ward members called Panch, and the president of Panchayati Raj, president of Gram Panchayat, is called Sarpanch. Panchayati Raj is the government at village level. Okay, there is a Gram Panchayat at every village or a group of villages, a council consisting of ward members. There is a council consisting of ward members. They are called as Panch. And the president or the leader of Gram Panchayat is called Sarpanch. They are directly elected by the adult population living in the village or ward. So the people who vote for the members of Panchayati Raj are adults. They are above the age of 18. Okay, and they should be living in the village or the ward. Gram Panchayat is the decision making body for the entire village. Next, the Panchayat works under the overall supervision of Gram Sabha. All the voters in the village are its members. See, Gram Sabha has all the voters of the village. The Panchayati Raj works by the supervision of Gram Sabha. The Gram Sabha supervises Panchayati Raj. All the voters are the voters in the village are its members. It has to meet at least twice or thrice in a year to approve the annual budget of the Gram Panchayat and review the performance of Gram Panchayat. All the voters in a village are the members of Gram Sabha. They should meet. They should gather for meeting at least twice or thrice in a country in a year, twice or thrice in a year, and discuss about the annual budget of Gram Panchayat to review the performance of Gram Panchayat. And the Gram Panchayat are grouped as Panchayat Samiti, block or mandal. The member of Panchayat Samiti representative are elected by Panchayat members in that area. See, the Gram Panchayat is grouped as Panchayat Samiti or block or mandal Samiti. And the members of Panchayat Samiti has two more names, block or mandal Samiti. And the members of Panchayat Samiti are elected by the members of Gram Panchayat. All the Panchayat Samitis or mandals in a district together constitute Zilla Parishad. All the Panchayat Samitis and mandals, all of them come together, they constitute Zilla Parishad. Members of Lok Sabha, MLAs of district, some of the other officials of the district level bodies are members of Zilla Parishad. So, members of Lok Sabha, MLAs and officials of district level are members of Zilla Parishad. When you constitute Panchayat Samiti, okay, it forms Zilla Parishad. Municipalities. See, we have spoken about the government at village. There is a government. The government at village, it's known as Gram Panchayati. It is for rural areas. But there is a government for cities, for urban areas. It is known as municipalities. Big cities are constituted in municipal corporation. The government, its cities are known as municipal corporations. Municipality is the government of a town and municipal corporation is the government of a city. Both of them are controlled by elected bodies consisting of people representatives. Again, they are elected by the adult population. They are the people representatives. The municipal chairman is the political head of municipality. In a municipal corporation, the officer is called mayor. The new system of local government is the largest experiment in democracy conducted anywhere in the world. So we should be really proud of our country because we have federal system of government. Powers are divided between central, state and local government. Okay, and this is seen in our country, which is a very democratic country. Constitutional status for local government has helped to deepen democracy in our country. So the system of democracy has been deepened because local government is also powerful in its own ways. It has also increased the number of women representation. Many seats are given to women, about 1/3 of seats, and they have voice in our democracy. Okay, with this we have ended the chapter. I hope you have understood. Okay, I have told you all the essential points of this lesson. Okay, thank you so much.